Hi, everyone. It's Ray again, doing my walk. And as you know, I just think. Not always, actually. Sometimes when I walk, I'm not thinking at all. I'm like blanks. But today I realized I wanted to talk about something that happened to me at a salsa class. I went to a salsa class that was one I had never been before and had always wanted to go to different classes in general, not just salsa. And this one was on my list, and I was like, I want to practice my new skills that I've been learning, and with a group of people I don't know and a teacher I'm not used to. And so I went, and I noticed I had this feeling like, oh, this community or the people that are here, or just the vibe I was getting, was like, it might not be okay that I'm wanting to lead. And so when I gave the person the money, I love your hair. Oh, so when I gave the person the money, and the best part is with the kids. I got some writings going by. The person who took the money was like, "Oh no, you've got to." They reacted very, very strongly, and I was like, "Wow." They're like, "Oh no, I don't think, I don't know. You have to ask the teacher." And I was taken aback, and I was like, "Oh, what would have happened if I didn't say anything?" I was like, "Gosh, what would have happened?" And then I went to the teacher, not wanting to go to the teacher to say, "Hey, I'm here to lead," not wanting to ask, but more to proclaim. That's why I was there. And he responded in a way that was also surprising. It's like, oh, wow, like I've never gotten that response before. He was like starting to count the amount of leads, and he said, "Oh, when there's too many leads, I ask the females to be follows." It was like, "Ooh, I'm happy you said that, because if I'm not leading, I'm leaving." And he was like surprised I said that, probably because I'm pretty sure people don't actually stand up for their wants, or their limits, or whatever they're there for. And most likely, people don't even. Uh, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people feel pretty uncomfortable being outside of the box of a stereotype, especially if they're in an environment that may not support it. Um, so the conversation continued in a way that was not comfortable for me, for sure. And he's really pretty trafficking today. Very busy. Crossing the road. I was like, well, he started asking me whether or not we, whether or not I've done salsa before. And of course, this was a beginning words for some reason for him to ask that. And wow, it's really busy. Uh, and he was like judging me, right? Was trying to find reasons why I shouldn't be a lead, which there was no reason. Like, there were quite a few people there who had never done salsa before. So finally we separate. He kind of let go of trying to dissuade me, and really never said yes or no, which is a cause for concern there. And then later, before the class actually started, he's like, "Oh, where did you learn salsa?" And he was trying to like warm me up a little bit more. And I could tell that he realized that it ended kind of badly. It wasn't really a great conversation. And I said, "Oh, so-and-so," and he knew who so-and-so was. And, it was like, "Oh, now this is uncomfortable because now I know we know somebody I know, and I know somebody you know." I finally start the class, and we're not partnered yet. And that went okay, but he was kind of like scouting me out, looking at me. He was like right in front of me. And then we partnered up, and he was like on top of me for like a long while and saying the same thing over and over again, like, you're following, you're not leading. And I was like, I'm confused because I know I'm leading. I realized what he was talking about was like when my footsteps were, when I was starting the steps was at the wrong timing. So it looked like I was following to him. And I was like, oh, you're talking about timing. And I was like, I really, that would have been helpful. And he just kept on repeating, you're following. I'm like, oh gosh. It was a very interesting experience. Finally, he moved away and, I got what he was saying, but it was very stressful and frustrating. And I felt like, it was like a big lesson for me about when is it a no when someone hasn't said no? When is it, when is it a yes even when someone hasn't said yes? That part of it was really interesting. At the end of the lesson, I learned some things about salsa, but I mainly learned about what consent really feels like. And also, how I don't allow for a no when things have changed. So what happened was I get into this class and I have this feeling and I say this thing that then turned it into a question. Because when I entered the class, I didn't think it was a question that I made. But obviously it was. And that changed the whole situation for me. Because I realized, oh, now it's a question of consent. Now it's a question of what do I need to be here? What are they not saying that are their boundaries that they don't say? But really for me, it's like what I need is a clear yes. I need for it to be clear. And so if it isn't, I'm out. And instead of just being okay with an icky wishy-washy situation, I was stubborn. And I don't like being stubborn. It's not a healthy place for me to be, but I know why I do it. And I realize that sometimes I have this ego, right? The ego that gets in my way. And you might understand this for yourself or not. It's really hard to admit because it's kind of yucky. It's not a place that feels good to admit that, hey, yeah, I just am digging in my heels for something that I feel right in doing because I need for people to know that, it might be as small as women bodies can be leads too, But the reality is, I know that. Why am I having to prove it? Why do I have to, it's almost contradictory to what I believe? And I'm feeling like I have to prove it to somebody who's not even able to understand what's going on. And this is my work, right? I'm admitting to major faults here. This is a major fault of mine. But fault meaning humanness. We are not perfect people. We learn. And that is the point of the confidence coming out process is that it's a process, it's work that has to be done on a lifetime situation by situation. And things are going to surprise you and they're going to teach you something about yourself. Yes, about the world, but really about yourself. And if you're in that state, which I definitely was around that, blaming the other person, the other people, well, there's no way around that, right? Because once you start doing that, you have no control. You're saying, I'm out of control because they're not going to change. I'm never going to be happy because they're not going to change. Well, the reality is you never were in control of them. And the only thing that you can really alter is you in your mind and the way you think about it. So I hope that helps by me admitting to my faults. And I think